Hi, second graders. It's Miss Stephanie. So this is our self-regulation group that we were supposed to start after spring break, and I can only imagine that if you guys needed this at school, you probably need it at home as well. So I figured, why cut it out? We should just continue to do it anyway. So I'm going to be doing this group stuff for you guys every week. And I've already made a video that kind of talks about what that'll look like. So if you need to go watch that one, go watch that one. But this one is just for week 1. And during week 1, it's pretty simple. It's kind of self-explanatory. We're just talking about what is self-regulation. Now, I'm hoping that you guys are doing this with your parents because it's a little hard to navigate just for kids. So parents, again, I'm sorry if this is a lot to take on. It's completely your choice if you want to do it or not. I will leave the things in here if you don't want to, if it's just too much for you guys to do. Just let me know so I can take you off the group, and I can still continue to send you them if you do have the time, but at least so that they're not like on my group. That's your decision. So this week we're talking about what is self-regulation, and that's some pretty big words, right? So go ahead and pause the video and just tell your mom or your dad or whoever you're working with what you think self-regulation is. All right, so I'm just going to jump back into it. Really pause it to have these conversations. The discussion is the most important part, and that's where you're going to get the most out of this, especially seeing it modeled. That's another thing that they're going to really get out of this, is seeing it modeled and having that discussion with you guys. So self-regulation is when we can tell how we are feeling and decide what we need to make ourselves feel better. So I have also sent you guys, there are links to all of these posters and worksheets and things that we're going to be looking at throughout the videos. These will all be posted in there so you can print out your own, or you can just pull them up if you need to. I know that my mirror imaging here is probably pretty awful. You can't actually read it very well. But basically you just need to see the icons. The colors are huge in self-regulation, and so we'll reference back to the colors a lot. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on today, is just what the colors mean to us and how they make us feel. So green is going to be happy, perfect, content, just ready to learn. Green is where we want to be all the time. So this is our goal. We want to be on green. Now, we're not always on green. We don't always feel ready to learn. We don't always feel happy. There are other emotions that come into play, right? So there's blue, yellow, and red that we can also feel. Red. Do you guys have any idea what red might be? Pause the video and talk about what red might feel like. What do you think, which feeling is red? All right, and then yellow. What feeling do you think is associated with yellow? Go ahead and pause the video and talk about what color or what feeling might be associated with yellow. All right, and then blue. What are we feeling when we're blue? That one might be the easiest one because we actually use the color when we talk about it. All right, so those are the colors, and I'm going to go over the answers right now. So on this next one, if you guys have this in front of you, you can pull it out as well. So even if you have to print it in black and white, it still has all of the colors next to it. So when you're feeling green, like I said, you're calm, happy, focused, and ready to learn. So those are the words that are used to describe when you're feeling green. If you're blue, you feel sad, sick, tired, bored. You could put a whole bunch of different words under there. So if you said anything different, I'm sure it's fine. This is just feeling kind of down, kind of sad. And then if you're feeling yellow, you might be feeling silly, nervous, confused, or excited. So you're like, your energy is going. You feel that maybe the sick feeling in your stomach, or maybe you just can't sit still. You're just moving all over the place. That's yellow. And then red is angry, mad, scared, or upset. So this is going to be where you're just really way up here, and that red is going to make it really hard to learn as well because you're just angry and mad. And I know all of you guys have experienced that, and you can't really get work done or do anything when you're sad and mad and upset. So those are what the different colors mean: blue, green, yellow, and red. And where do we want to be again? Green. We always want to try to get back to green. Green is where we want to be. All right, so here's this next one we're going to pull out here. If we're blue, this is going to tell you some things that you might be doing, some behaviors that you might be doing if you're these specific colors. So if you're blue, you may cry, yawn, or frown. So you're going to look really sad. You might start crying. Those are some cues. Cues are like signals that your body gives you that tells you which color you are. So in later weeks, we're going to start to try to recognize what feelings that we are having. And we're going to start to match those to the colors. So if you're crying or yawning or frowning, you might be blue. You're under-energized and you're upset and you're sad, or you're frustrated. Frustrated could even fall under here as well. You're just down, right? Green, you may smile, laugh, and listen carefully, right? So you're going to be focused when you're green. So you might smile, you might laugh, and you might be listening very carefully. Those are some things, plus others, that you might do when you're in green. Remember, that's where we want to be, is green. Now, yellow, if you're in yellow, you may not sit still. So you might be wiggling all over the place, just moving, getting out of your chair. You can't sit still. Oh, the next one is wiggle. So you might be wiggling a lot. And you might be losing some control. So you might not feel like you have control over what your body's doing. Maybe you're constantly moving, or there's something on your back that's making you feel funny. Those are what makes you feel yellow. That's what happens when you feel yellow. In red, you might hit, yell, or lose control. So if you're throwing a tantrum, you're hitting people or hitting things on your desk. If you're yelling at people, yelling at your teacher, yelling at your friends, yelling at your parents while you're at home, yelling at yourself, that also counts. If you're yelling at yourself, that also counts. If you're losing control, so you don't have that control over what you're doing, you're going to be red. If you're angry and you're doing those things, that's red. Now some things to get us, I'm going to go back to this first poster again. Some things to get us back to green when we feel these things, okay? Here's just one idea, and there's going to be plenty. So why don't you guys pause the video one more time and have a discussion on what you think that you could do to get yourself back to green from all of those colors. So when you're blue, what are you going to do to get yourself back? When you're yellow, when you're red, what are some things that you could do to get yourself back to green? So here's some examples that the poster has for us. So if you're blue, it means you're sad and you might be crying, or you might be frowning or yawning. Maybe you're tired. Blue is tired too. Go get some fresh air. Take a walk. Go somewhere. Take a step away from what you're doing and get some fresh air. That's going to help wake you up. It'll help distract you from being sad and crying, right? All right, and if you are yellow, ask for a break. So remember, yellow was not sitting still, not being able to focus, getting really wiggly. You're losing control of some sort, whether that be, that could be crying still. Maybe crying is under yellow. And it says here to ask for a break. That kind of goes hand in hand with this. You could go outside and get some fresh air for yellow too. Go take a break. Go take a walk. Whatever it is that you need to do, maybe 2 to 5 minutes break. This isn't like a 30-minute, I'm going to go play video games break, right? This is, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to step away from what I need to do, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to really try to focus, right? If we take that break, we're going to jump to green and we're going to be ready to focus. If we're here and we're going to get that fresh air, we're going to jump back to green and we're going to be ready to focus on our schoolwork. Okay. And then red, if you're angry and you just don't know what you want to do and you're just so upset, take deep breaths, right? And I've talked to just about all of you about taking deep breaths when you're upset. And so when we take deep breaths when we're angry, that can jump us back to green. Maybe it jumps us to yellow, right? If we take some deep breaths, it jumps us to yellow. We might have to take a couple steps depending on where we're at. If taking some deep breaths gets us back to yellow, then once we're calm, we can go take our break and then jump back to green, okay? So it might take a couple steps to get back to green, but we always want to be doing something that's going to lead us back to green, okay? And if you guys have any questions on any of this, parents, on how to explain it a little bit better, you can always watch the video again, or you are more than welcome to email me or phone call, whatever you want to do. I can try to explain this in another way if you guys need it. Okay, so that was that. We were supposed to play this really fun bingo game today in groups, but that didn't happen. So with the journal reflection, and I think I touched on this in the other video, you do not have to have the kids completely write this out themselves. I was actually, if it was happening in school, I was going to skip this journal reflection step for the second graders because I just wasn't sure it was like developmentally appropriate for their age. So if you feel like they're not getting it, or if they don't know how to answer the questions, you can just skip it. Or if you want to ask them the questions in a different way and record their answers, you can have them record it in a video and you can post it for me. You can type it in for them, however that is. If you want to have them write it out, go for it. I don't want to stress anyone out. So if it's going to stress them out, if it's going to stress you out, if it's going to be a big deal, you don't have to do it. The journal reflections do help me keep track of how they're progressing, and especially because not all the activities will be something that they turn in. So if you could try the journal reflections, that helps me just gather my data to see what they're getting. So journal reflection number 1, you'll find this under journal reflections, and it'll be an assignment. So you'll have to submit the assignment, whether you write it in a Google document or if there's a space for you to write it. I'm still learning Schoology, so your kids might know more about it than I do. But this is the question for journal reflection number 1. Did you know what self-reflection was before today? What did you think about using colors to identify our feelings? Now with second grade, I'm not expecting them to get really deep with this. With my fifth graders, I'm expecting them to. They've got another group going on. They're supposed to be really doing some deep reflection into themselves and to really answer these questions thoughtfully. But for second graders and for self-regulation, there's not a whole lot of deep thinking here. It's really just answering the questions and making sure they're being truthful with it. So obviously, if the kids are in this group, they have some problems self-regulating, and that's okay. And the first couple weeks, they're not going to know much of anything, and that's exactly where I expect them to be. So don't feel like you have to bump them up to know more, or that the kids feel like they have to be bumped up to know more. They are completely where they're supposed to be, and that's why I'm here to kind of help them with that. So you'll find those there. Oh, and then there's one question down at the bottom here. I didn't see it. It says, the color I'm feeling right now is. So that'll be another question listed on the journal reflection page. And you guys can just go ahead and answer those, send those in to me, and then I will post all of the stuff for next week's activity. Bye, guys. Thank you.